But how you doing today?
Everyone's, I'm doing well, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I actually just came in. We were duck hunting this morning, so I just came in from the river. I can still see the river right now, and there's some guys down there. I think actually they started putting out hay on his farm, but it was fun sitting out there this morning. I'm actually at his house right now, so I'm not
Okay.
doing this in my typical spot because everything around here, and I'm in Southwest Missouri, and everything's froze up, and so the ducks and geese and stuff are on the river, and it really concentrates them, and it's more fun during this time.
Yeah. Everything's froze here, but we're not having that kind of fun. We are at all.
It's just cold, huh?
It was 5 today.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at.
5 degrees today.
That's
Oh
what we
man.
were this morning. The high will be like 23 or
Yeah,
something
I
like
think we were in double digits at least. We were at like 15 or 16 this morning, so not too bad, not five.
that. Did you get anything?
We got two this morning when I was down there. We could see a bunch of them upriver, and then there was some downriver too, so they just weren't getting up off of the water. But there was a little group that started flying, and so we knocked them down. But yeah, it was fun this morning, so I ran up here and got set up about 15 minutes or so ago, and I'll probably be going back down there
Yeah.
afterwards if it's picking up and whatnot. So, but yeah, it's fun. So where are you located, Jarrett?
I'm in Indianapolis, northeast side of Indy.
Northeast side of Indianapolis. And so, do you just do the Pursuit of Manliness, or you do other things as well?
No, well, I'm a full-time pastor.
Okay, very
But I
cool.
I I try to explain it this way. Like I did this before I came to the church where I'm at. The church where I'm at has like they didn't ask me to do this. There's no and they're good with that. But I basically do them both full time. So and the way I explain it is every piece of content or every video I make or anything like it's just me. It's just like the community is it's just constant. So instead of taking one hat on, one hat, I just try to be like, this is what I do as long as I'm
Yeah,
awake. So
as long as you. So you started doing this before you were in the pastoral position you're in right now?
yeah, I was a children's pastor in Cedar Rapids, Iowa,
Okay.
and there's a whole story that we can get into but I started it anonymously. I started as a blog, which is dumb because I'm a terrible writer, but I started as a blog, just felt like I don't know, man, I had this massive conviction of putting something out and then not till like and when I came here, the elders didn't know I did this. Nobody knew. Let's be honest. Only 30 people probably knew on the whole planet. Nobody. And so my first podcast, I decided I was gonna be like, I'm gonna just keep doing this anonymously. And the first guest like mentioned my name, and I remember being terrified because I thought I don't know how to edit. So the next elders meeting, I was like, well, I need to let you guys know, and they're like, okay, like they could care less.
So
So,
you
but
started the Pursuit of Manliness anonymously.
oh yeah, for sure,
Really?
yeah,
What
yeah.
what was your decision in that?
Because I didn't feel like I was the guy to I
Mm,
didn't feel like there was nothing like manliness, like I'm not trying to be I just felt like what do I know? But that was the pursuit part. Like, let's get after it. Let's try to figure these things out. And that's why I say every piece of content is me working through this stuff. And when I told the guys like, hey, this is what I'm doing, it was so much smaller than it is today. It was, an Instagram post, whatever. The Lord has taken care of the other things, but yeah, I didn't want anybody to know. Like,
yeah, interesting, dude. So you started it as a blog, and then it became a podcast, and you have several other things connected to this Pursuit of Manliness. I've seen Pursue Wilderness and Pursue Marriage, right?
yeah, yeah. So Pursuit of Manliness I remember going to the airport one day with my wife and I said, I think the next step is starting a podcast, which was so dumb. I had no idea how to do that. I mean, I'm looking at people's Facebook pictures and trying to figure out, is that a microphone? Is it USB? Is it? And she's like, okay, which was, I thought, with what dollars? We have no, there's no dollars, right? So I thought, well, she kicked me out of the airplane. I need to jump now. So I did it. I saw a picture on Facebook Memories the other day. I was in my closet trying to record because I wanted the perfect sound, and I was sweating to death. It was a terrible idea. And so through that, eventually Tribe came, and that came from a Facebook post too. And
Mm.
and and I can unpack that further, but that happened, and then from there, these other things just keep like another domino, right? So, Pursue Wilderness was probably the next thing that kind of came of substance, and then Pursue Marriage came after that, and they're not clearly defined, like there's no program or anything, but it's more of a resources being put out.
Gotcha. So, Jared, I want at the start of this, I want to ask you if you wouldn't mind defining what you mean by the pursuit of manliness, because I like this idea. I think everybody kind of has a general idea of what it means to pursue, what manliness is, but when it comes to what you're trying to encourage people to do or men to do to pursue manliness, what is it?
Yeah, so for me, I had to define that. So the word pursuit I loved in the beginning because it was like, well, we're not there. Manliness, I liked it, but I didn't like it. I wasn't trying to come across as a guy who had this figured out. So I really felt like the Lord took me back to Genesis 1 and 2. And so that there's five things there in Genesis 1 and 2, and that's before sin enters the world, right? So after sin, it comes down to, do you have a beard? Do you own land? Are you married? Do you have like all these things we think make us a man, and they don't. So Genesis 1, we're created in the image of God. Okay. And so then we move into Genesis 2, where we understand we are to be fruitful and multiply. We say, we want to give more than we take. God tells us that we're to have dominion. So that means my presence matters. I don't walk in and go, I have dominion over this house. You guys should listen. No, no, but when I walk in, it does matter. God placed Adam in the garden to work it and to keep it. So the law of cultivation, my house, my marriage, my ministry, whatever it is, I have to cultivate that. And then, the fifth thing would be if you do get married, you marry a woman. God brought this woman to Adam, and that's not to say every guy will get married, but if you do get married, we marry women. That's it. We marry one woman, and so then we hold fast to her, and the word is glued together, debak, and so we're glued together for life. And so we look at Genesis 1 and 2, and this isn't just for men specifically, but you look at 1 and 2, there's instruction to as humans, right? Now, Eve's is different than Adam's at certain points, but that's before sin enters the world. After Genesis 3, we spend the rest of the Bible mucking it up until we get
Yeah.
Jesus here, right? So
What you mentioned that this is something that a project or something that you're doing, kind of growing in it. How have you grown since you've started the pursuit of manliness?
is just trying to practice what I preach.
Mm.
I told a good friend of mine this the other night, and both it's happened twice now. For the longest time, it only happened once, but I need to get it recorded somehow. I don't know how I'm going to ever pull this off, but my wife has made the statement, and I'll never forget both times when she said it. I've been married to two guys. I have the guy I was married to, and I have a man of God. And so
Mm.
to me, that's not me telling her, do you see like I say, if you have to tell people you lost weight, you haven't lost that much weight. Like they'll know when you've
Oh,
lost some
yeah.
weight, right? They'll let you know when you're balding. They'll let you know, like, so same way with that. To me, it's day in and day out. It's Luke 9:23. It's trying to take up your cross every day to follow Jesus. It's apologizing when you screw up. It's understanding your presence. It's being humble, but also being um, the caretaker. Like to me, I'm a big believer in protecting my camp and protecting the people
Mhm.
within my camp. That wasn't always the case. So, as I'm trying to do this, brother, I'm also realizing I need to get around some high caliber guys who will make me a little uneasy. If I'm the
Mm.
smartest guy in every room and community, I'm in the wrong room and community. I need to find other spaces. And so I've really tried to labor for like, man, I want to be around guys who are real. I call it blue collar. I was raised in a blue collar home. So no matter what you do for a living, let's be blue collar. Let's bring our lunch pail every day. Let's just answer the bell. Let's put in the work. Let's be honest and just, man, just say, you know what? This stuff really does matter. Matthew 7, that narrow road to living, it really does
Mhm.
matter. And brother, we're on borrowed time here. So you and I, any moment could take our final breath and expire here on this planet and spend eternity. So it's just trying to every day, every day is an opportunity and every day is a gift.
Jared, I think one of the reasons that guys resonate with what you're doing, especially Christian men, is because you're not just saying here's what it means to be a man, but here's what it means to be a man of God, right? There's a buddy
Yeah.
of mine at church who listens to your podcast, and when I announced that I was starting the Lion and the Bear, he was really excited, and I know I had reached out to you for some advice and some counsel and all that stuff, and I think I posted something maybe on social media about just a thanks to you or whatever. And Dennis, my friend from church, saw it and he goes, "Dude, I listened to." He said he could do the load of road goods advertisement reading basically from memory and stuff like that. So I think guys are drawn to this because they don't just want to be like somebody else's philosophy of what it means to be a man, but they want to be based in the Word of God, what it means to be a man. I know you have this framework for biblical masculinity. Can you kind of break down your framework and your thinking of what biblical masculinity is?
Yeah, and let me say, I don't desire to draw people to me. Like, and I think guys understand that. Like, it's not like, hey, come listen to my wisdom. Every once in a while, something decent will come out of my mouth, and I'm like, man, where did that come from? That's from the Lord. That same way with this framework. I was just a couple years ago thinking, man, how do we simplify this? What does this? Because there's so many things. Like a guy asked a question the other day, like, what is full time for Jesus? It's the rest of your life, and that's hard to
Mm,
summarize in like a decal or in a logo. So this framework idea is we want to be spiritually sound. So I need to understand doctrine. I need to understand what I believe and why, because when troubles come my way, and they always do, that's what I hold fast to. And then I want to be mentally strong. The mental one's dangerous because nobody knows what's going on in your mind and my mind. Like guys are really good at kind of going gray man and just kind of blending in,
hmm
but I know the narrative that's going on. You know it as well. And so if we change that narrative, if we decide I can do hard things, I can be out in the cold, I can choose not to eat ice cream, I can't, like the things that we don't like to do, hiding God's word in our hearts so we recall it. And then I want to be relationally established. So, like, I have a post today in Tribe that says, if your wife needed to, or if you needed to reach out to someone at 3 a.m., who would you contact? And there's a whole list of guys. And some guys are honest and saying, I don't know. That's the perfect place to start, right? So I've asked my wife that question. If I got depressed, if I went distant, who would you reach out to? And she'll give me like three names. I'm like, yep, those are the guys. Those are the guys that will, they'll do a knock and talk if they have to, right? Grab you by the
Yeah.
ear and be like, what's going on? And listen, it takes a long time to get those guys. Okay.
hmm
So, and then the last one will be physically fit. And this is where guys you don't like to talk about it, but it matters. What we eat matters. How we take care of our body matters. If there was a fire in your home, could you get the people physically get them out of your house? I'm not saying you have to be, David Goggins, but you have to be physically fit. It's not funny to be obese or napping in chairs or having, it's just not. And I think we've bought it, especially in America, bought into like it's funny to be the stretchy pants guy. Hey, I love stretchy pants, but I want to be the guy who's put in the work before I get to the stretchy pants, if
Right.
that makes sense. And so back to real quick, I do believe, and I've learned this through the years, and maybe you understand this from what you do. There is a difference from the Christian guy and a man of God. A Christian guy is like fairly clean talking. He's not going to get you in trouble. He's, whatever. A man of God is different. A man of God is like David Jonathan stuff. It's like Jonathan Armor Bear, like, brother, I'm with you, heart and soul. A Christian guy, he might sign up for the men's breakfast. A man of God says, I'm opening my garage door up and I want to pour into these three guys. Like when that switch flips, I don't think you can go back. And you know the difference between a man of
hmm
God and a guy who's just trying to be a Christian, leave me alone type person.
Right. The Christian man is kind of nice and he's polite. The man of God is consequential in his actions for the glory of
Yeah.
God and for the good
Yeah.
of those entrusted to him. That's kind of how we've been saying it. The man of God is the one who lives for the glory of his God and the good of those entrusted to him. Jared, I want to ask you kind of on those four areas, starting with spiritually sound. What advice would you give to guys who might be trying to grow in their understanding of doctrine, the Bible, their understanding of God and Christ and the Spirit? Where should somebody start, and how should they proceed in trying to grow in their spiritual life?
Get to the Bible, first and foremost. Don't do verse of the day. Okay. I think that's silly. We're better than that. Okay. And if you get, sorry, if you get verse of the day on your phone, that's great. But some guys are like, well, I got the verse of the day. That's like eating a Ritz cracker and saying I had food today. That's not, it's never,
Oh
ever going
man,
to be
yeah.
enough. So you need substance. Just like your food, you need to make sure you're eating the right things. You got to do the same thing spiritually. So I'd say get in the Gospels. If you need to start somewhere, start in John. I like Mark because he fast forwards everything, but John is a good one. Read the book of Acts. I like those two next to each other because John, unbelievable image of who Jesus is. Acts is like, okay, why are we doing these things? Why do we have a church? Why do we have elders? Why do we have read those books? But and then read the Bible every single day. Like, don't give yourself any like, well, I did it. Nope, every single day. Write it down. One of the things I try to do is keep it out, keep it open, keep it with me, right? Like keep that Bible around. It's sitting right there. My journal's right there. It's in my car seat. It's in by my chair, whatever. Just make it like I don't go anywhere without certain things. Okay. If we had to do a pocket dump, I could tell you things that are with me every day.
It's on your
That's got
EDC, huh?
every day. So that's got to be with me too every day. And wear it out. You can, oh, I got Gorilla Tape on it. I'm going to, whatever I got to do. So you got to be in the Word. And with that, find other people who are willing to get in the Word too. So every day I read what I read, like my reading plan, whatever. And then I have three guys that I shoot a text to every morning. One of them's at my church, one of them's related to me, and one of them is someone in the community. And so those guys I'm essentially discipling from a distance, but I also have my tribe and other guys who it's an ongoing conversation. So you got to get in the word, non-negotiable.
Got to get in the word. Okay, when it comes to the mental side of things, guys trying to grow in their understanding and in their tell me some advice that you might give to a guy trying to grow in that area.
Get outside. I don't care what the temperature is. Get outside. The weather is undefeated, man. I don't care if it's 100 right now. It's 5. You can layer up. You can whatever. Go outside. Walk a mile. I'm telling you, like, do it when you don't feel like it. Do it in the rain. Do it in the snow. Do it with your spouse. Do it whatever. Like, get outside. And then if you want, like, take the word with you. Put some headphones in and listen to scripture or listen to a podcast or whatever. I believe you get outside. It will do more to change your mental health than anything else. What did they tell you in 2020? You shut the door.
Mm,
Bull crap. Get
right.
outdoors. There's never been a time in history, unless there's a nuclear bomb going on, that it was better to be inside than outside. So tornado, yeah, go back inside. But other than that, like we're inside too much. We're not meant to live like one day I was in my office and I looked outside and there were all these geese in the grass. And I'm just watching them like interact with one another. And it hit me for a second. It's like reverse zoo. Like I'm the
Mm.
one inside the glass. I'm watching them, poop and eat whatever on the grass. I'm like, no. So I'm just telling you, get outside. It'll change your mind.
Get outside. That's good advice, man. Everybody needs to be outside. Okay, when it comes to the relational stuff, I want to hammer in on this a little bit because I know you have tribe and the herd and all of that stuff, and everybody knows that just like iron sharpens iron, so when one man sharpens another. Jerry, what advice would you have for a guy who might be feeling lonely? Because loneliness is something that's going on in our country pretty rapidly, and it's widespread too for guys especially. How should guys try to go about getting into relationship with other men of God and growing in those relationships so that they can be relationally strong?
Well, it's like fishing, like you need to know what's in the water, right? And if you go to a place that you don't know, you're probably gonna have to try a couple things. You're gonna have to ask the locals. You're gonna have to figure out this worked, this didn't work, whatever. Men are hard. We're hard. You and I both have insecurities. We both have things in our life that we regret. The Bible calls that sin. We all have things in our life that we're concerned about for the future. We all do. Like when you got a thing, I got a thing, we all go, yeah, that's our thing. You need to really strive to look for those people. I would love it if you find your church. I think that's the right place to find it. But it feels like more and more that's getting harder and harder to do
Mm,
to find those guys. I would say a great way to grow is to offer a study of some kind or something where you open your garage door, backyard. Being responsible to other people might be a start. I talk to guys all the time. They're like, my men's ministry stinks. Great, start one. Start one. Like I didn't have one when I started this, and honestly, I didn't know about other men's stuff out there. I was pretty ignorant to internet men's things and all that.
yeah.
So if you want them, worst case scenario, go to Facebook. Like go on, like they're out there, but it can't stay there. And what I found was when I wanted to do this anonymously and I wanted to just keep everybody at a distance because I'm a lone wolf introvert. You tell me shelter in place, I'll never leave the house again. I'm good with that. What I realized is, man, these guys wanted to meet face to face will always be better. So
Hmm.
I would say it's going to take time. And if you got some stuff in your life, you're not alone. But when you show up to that first meeting, don't vomit your life on them. Don't be like, and this is everything in my life I struggle with. And I'm telling you, they're not ready for that. That takes
Right.
time. And you need to know that guy has something to offer, but you do as well. It may take 6 months, it may take a year, it may take a couple years, but at least try, right? If you're looking for a girl, you're single, you're looking for a girl in a bar, don't be shocked if she likes to drink. Like you go, that's where you
Yep.
found her at, right? Church ain't a bad place to find some guys. Christian communities aren't a bad, but here's what you're gonna have to figure out. We're all hypocrites. We're all trying. We don't got it figured out. So that guy will probably let you down. He may not be your best
Hmm.
friend, but it'll be worth it.
Yeah, when you mentioned earlier that the church seems to be a harder place to find kind of godly community, why do you think that's becoming the reality that it is?
Well, I don't think we understand it's the bride of Christ to start with. I don't think the average Christian guy looks at his local church as the bride. They look at it as a building, they look at it as a brand, they look at it as an organization. So I attend Bob's church. No, that's God's church. That's the bride
Mm,
of Christ. And so when I look at the bride, I'm going to treat her differently. That includes my wallet. That includes my calendar. That includes my service. That includes my prayers. I'm going to look at that local church different. I think a lot of guys have bought into the idea that I don't need the local church. Read your Bible. you read the New Testament, like you're going to realize like it does really matter. And this stuff that we kind of dismiss because culture says it's not a value, culture doesn't drive doctrine. Like go back to this and say, hey,
All right.
it
Yep.
does matter. And when you get there and you get in a church that will not be perfect and the pastor will not be as funny as I am, and I understand all that. When you get into that place, like love it, cherish it, pray for it, be faithful to it. Over time, you'll realize it is a living organism. Like it's a real thing. And so I think first and foremost, we're just not dependable men. And so
Mm.
you go to your monthly biscuits and gravy breakfast and wonder why it doesn't feel like of any value. Right. Because the other 29 days you never connected with any of those guys. You never took them to lunch. You never checked in on them. When you start doing life with people, you'll look at them different.
Yeah, dude, that's something you keep mentioning opening your garage. And I actually had because of the duck hunting thing this morning and yesterday morning as well. I had to bail or I didn't have to bail. I chose to bail on this, but I decided that I kind of was in the world of CrossFit for a little bit. And then when 2020 hit, I started buying things off of Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist, getting good deals of things that people had bought brand new. And they're like, we don't actually use this. So I started doing that. And I built this home gym and I started opening my home gym to other guys. And so nowadays, there's anybody from another guy who will come over to anywhere upwards to potentially we've had like 10 or 11 show up in my garage. And that's too many for my garage because it's not that big of a garage, but
Isn't that a good problem though?
it's a
Isn't
great
that a good
problem.
problem?
Yeah. And it's great because those guys have become some of my best
Yeah.
friends and they're all godly men. And we have, the majority of our time is focused on lifting weights and running and biking and rowing and all of that stuff. But sometimes we're talking about a verse or sometimes we always pray together. Sometimes we're talking about things going on in a specific dude's life or encouraging one another. And it's funny because these are some of the strongest friendships that I've developed. And it's
Yeah.
not because I'm going to a once a month meeting with them or even a once a week meeting with them. It's because it's a Monday through Friday, pretty much every day, unless somebody gets sick or somebody's kid's not sleeping or whatnot. They're showing up and we're getting together and we're doing something hard together. And even like right now, when it's, freeze below freezing, we're still going there. The garage door's shut, but we're still in there and it's cold and we're working out and we're hammering it out together. And it's cool how the daily discipline of fitness and getting together to pray and to remember His Word and to celebrate God has forged us into better, godlier men. And even I work at a church as well, so this is a good thing for me to be able to invite guys into as a minister at the church to encourage them to grow in their godliness and their discipleship under the lordship of Christ. And so we're talking about that relationships, and then now we kind of segue into physical fitness. That's the fourth characteristic you mentioned of biblical masculinity. And Jared, I mean, you're in the churches just like I'm in the churches. And I was asking one of my physician friends about this. I said, dude, why do you think it is that a lot of preachers and physicians seem to be just overweight or not in good health? And he mentioned stress and other things like that. But you would think that some of the primary occupations that are out there, such as pastor or preacher or physician, doctor, they would understand the need to be physically fit, whether biological or theological, the mandates that are there. Why do you think it is that guys are kind of letting that slip? And then how should guys go about trying to get back into physical fitness if they, maybe were pretty physical fit in high school and college, but that slipped?
I think it's one bad decision at a time. I got my wife and I were talking this morning about eating clean, and I said, what I realized, like yesterday, I didn't bring any, no, it was 2 days ago. I didn't bring any food. I got talking to a guy at the church, this, that, and the other. All of a sudden, it's like 1:30, and I'm like, man, I don't want to go home and make food, and then I got to get back. And so I just decided I'm not going to eat. I'll be fine. I had some beef sticks, and I'm going to eat that. I'll go home and eat dinner when I get there. How many times would I normally have left the church and went to Taco Bell or to McDonald's or to where, because it was just convenient. It was easy. You do eat your feelings, man. We all do it, man. A carton of ice cream, or we were shoveling driveways, like every driveway in north of Indy the other day, and I'm like, I just want to eat everything. I just, you know what? No, that's that mental discipline. Like, no, that's ridiculous. Like, you could do it. Like, nobody's telling me I can't, but I don't want to live like that, And I think part of it is you have to practice what you preach. So if I talk about eating clean, or I'm in 90 days of discipline right now, so I got a bunch of guys, and we're all kind of pushing each other. Some of the guys are starting to believe their own excuses of I just didn't get to it today. No, you didn't get to it a lot of days. And so it's not that it's now you're in a thing, and community only works for the guy who is willing to stop believing his own excuses, his own lies. Not only that, I need my wife to kick me in the pants and say, really? Because you just said, or really because you've been on your phone for the last 45 minutes. You could have done your 30-minute deal, whatever it is. And so, again, getting outside, go a mile a day. It takes you 20 minutes. It's not hard. And then, I hate lunges. Some of these things I just, oh man, I don't want to do it. That's good. We're grown men. Sometimes it's okay to do things you don't want to do,
Mm.
and not to wallow in it. Don't walk around like Eeyore, like, oh, I guess I can't do it. If you do that, man, it just changes the rhythm of your life. Like it just like at Christmas, I said, I'm gonna eat whatever I want. I didn't because
Mm.
I'm used to like not eating whatever I want. I ate a few things different than I normally would do, but just that personal discipline. And not only that, just be mindful that everything that you and I do, somebody's watching us. I was at New Year's, Christmas, whatever, somewhere in that window. It's all a loss at some point. And somebody was at a table with me and they mentioned one of my videos, like an Instagram video from POM. This is a female. Something, how did you see it? And not only that, they were talking about some of the comments on the video. Now, this person's, I don't think they follow the account. I don't know if it was an algorithm thing. I don't know what it was. And they were talking about something. I thought, you do see that stuff. Here's my point. Whatever we're doing, there's always more people watching than what we recognize. So let's put health out there. Physical, spiritual, mental. Let's just project it because somebody is picking it up. Even if we never get credit for it, who cares? Somebody might change their diet or might change their time in the word or whatever just because they see you do it. That's a kingdom win.
Is physical fitness something that has always been important to you, or is it more
No.
recent? Tell me about
I,
that.
yeah, I don't know what it was. I ate like a raccoon for 40 some years, man. I mean, I'm telling you, here's the truth. I'm wound. I can get a little wound. So for me, convenience is always easy. If I can grab and go, whatever. I mean, it's lunchtime. We ain't got nothing. I'll grab some Pop Tarts. I don't care. Whatever. I'll drink a Pepsi. To me, I've just never. It's never been an issue. But I realize, man, you're getting really unhealthy, and there's things that we're saying you're unhealthy. And so I just one day decided I'm not going to do that anymore, brother. I didn't know how to cook. I didn't know how to make anything. I prayed before I turned the stove on that I wouldn't burn the house down. Like I did. I'm like, Lord, I don't know what I'm doing. And my wife is a phenomenal cook. So I had this crutch for 20 some years that whatever she made, I just eat it, leftovers, whatever. And I just resolved one day, and this has just been, a number of months ago, I thought, I'm not going to live like that no more. I'm just not. I don't know how much time I have left, but it's irresponsible to live that way. And so from the eating to the physical, it's just been, and then I realized if I'm left on my own, I'm probably going to drift. So I need to make sure I'm tethered to a few guys who are going to send me that video. I got a guy that sends me a screenshot of his watch every day, how many miles he's run. I ain't never going to run a mile ever unless I'm being chased. But I will send him then like how many miles I walked that day or whatever. Like we're back and forth. So no, it's not. I wish it had been my whole life, but it wasn't. So
What's
here
kind
I
of
am.
your diet right now that you're focused on when it comes to eat what food you eat?
I'm animal based. So I'm eating a ton of protein. I'm eating fruit. I'd like to say some vegetables, but I'm taking some supplements there. I'm not there yet. There are potatoes occasionally. I'm doing the hard cheese, and so basically, I'm looking for the least amount of ingredients as possible. I drink coffee in the morning. I'm not going to give that up. I don't see it happening. And then I drink water the rest of the day. So I'm cutting out sugars. I'm cutting out carbs for the most part. Occasionally, there's one in there. Just you know, I do have like some mile markers. And who knows? For me, one of my favorite places to ever eat on the planet is Casey's. And I don't know if you've ever been to a
The
Casey's
gas
gas station.
station? Yeah, we got Casey's
Yeah.
here.
Casey's Pizza on Super Bowl Sunday. We got one about 25 minutes from us. Like I'm driving there and I'm going to eat the pizza all the way home. Like that's my next day. I'll be feeling miserable, but it's just that discipline. And what's happened is now I get up and like I made my wife breakfast today. I made my kids breakfast today. I get to have these conversations in the kitchen with them. Brother, it wasn't that long ago. I had no clue how to do any of that stuff. But I thought that is a place where I can capitalize in the morning instead of me trying to get my stuff. You're in my way, whatever. No,
Hmm.
I'm gonna be the man in that space. Then I do all the dishes so my wife doesn't come home and be like, what the heck? So I do all the dishes, put everything back, and then like, what a win for the morning.
Right. Jared, I'm interested because you mentioned this, and I forgot to ask about it during the relationship stuff with other guys. What's tribe and what's the herd, and kind of share what you guys do in there.
So Tribe started with a Facebook post in 2017 in our closed group, and I said, "What do you need for the following year to really grow as a man?" And somebody wrote a friend, and I thought,
Mm.
"Me too," because I was in a new ministry. All my guys, if you will, were in the previous church I had served at, and I still had those friendships, but not like I needed. So Tribe was born in about 30 minutes. I just decided, here's what we're going to do. Here's what, and I mean, talking about jumping out of the airplane. I'm on the phone with different. I started with 10 guys. And within the first 4 to 6 weeks, somewhere in there, like 7 of the 10 quit. Sorry about that. They quit. Um, I thought, well, this is going well. So I started again. I stopped after 5 months. We started again in June of that year, and I charged money, which was a terrible strategy, right? But I thought we need some guys to have some skin in the game.
Right.
And so that's where it came. It's a 6 month discipleship journey. You read the Bible every day. You got book reading every day. There's challenges we do. There's Zoom calls. There's all these different components to it. In there is kind of where 90 days started to be birthed. We have Tribe Fitness. It's not a program or anything. It's just guys going, here's what I did today or whatever. Well, now we're doing 90 days. The herd came from just the fact, just I have some really good guys who support the ministry no matter what. I could put a coffee mug up on the site today and they're going to buy it. And it just hit me one summer like they don't need more gear. They have enough. And so the herd is kind of this community without social media. They get some extra podcast content every week. There's Zoom calls at the retreat. There's an extra component for them. And so there's just a little bit more kind of on the side. There's no Facebook group or anything like that. So that it's all just kind of been born out of necessity. Like, okay, what's the next thing? And listen,
Right.
I've tried some things that I thought were great and they failed. I had this thing called Point Man that I thought was this no brainer. And I look at it now going, not even close.
What
It
was
didn't
Point Man?
work, or the idea was this resource for like I think it was 30 days where you helped lead somebody through the Bible. And I thought, how can this go wrong? And the idea in my mind was kind of father son thing and stuff.
Mm.
And, sorry, that's my wife text me. So um, I gave it away in the beginning. I was like, here, does anybody take it? I just want you to do it. Well, if you give something away, they're not going to do it. So I had guys come out of the woodwork and want it, but I could never get them to have the conversation or figure out. So some of this stuff has just been like, nope, not the right time for that. You know,
Yeah. Jerry, you talked about fathers and sons right there. Are you a dad yourself?
I got 3 kids. Yep.
Okay, cool. What advice would you give to other dads who are trying to raise maybe their boys specifically to be men of God, and then just to fathers in general who have daughters as well?
Well, I got 2 daughters and a son. So the daughters came first and the son. With the daughters, I knew my main thing was just protect them. Like that was, but I didn't know what that looked like. And so it took me a long time to figure out how to be a dad. And I would say, man, love whatever season you're in. It's unique, it's fleeting, it's hard, but you'll miss it. I promise. I know that sounds like old man talking. I don't care. But so my daughters, I've had to kind of really figure out like through my wife, like there's always an emotion in the house and mine's wrong. So I'm figuring out, okay, what's going on here? And then we've done some things with like our oldest, she's got a boyfriend, we kind of set some things like, here's what we do it different when it comes to dating, how we did that. And we can get in if you want. But with my son, when he was like 4, I was putting him to bed and I always kind of wrestle with him, kind of rough house, and he made a comment one night, like, well, you're always mad at me or something like that. And I was like, what? He took it at the end of the night, me roughhousing him. I was just thinking, I'm just trying to get your tail to bed,
Yeah.
man. He
Mm-hmm.
took it as I was mad at him. Like he
Mm.
read it that way. And I was like, that wasn't my intent. It doesn't matter. Because I had to apologize to him. And I've had to apologize to my daughters and say, hey, I'm sorry for this, that, or the other. And so I think just trying to be present, in whatever season you're in, embrace it, love it. Like I said, it does go fast, but there's a ton of great resources out there, but every kid's different,
It's true.
so
You got to know your kid for sure.
you want to have a relationship with them, but I have friendly relationship with them, but at the end of the day, I'm the caretaker. I'm the gatekeeper. So,
Yeah. I'm interested because we just had our first daughter 6 months ago, and I'm curious, man. What are some of the dating rules for your girls?
well, not no. So, my oldest one has been a princess mindset her whole life. So I knew dating was on the horizon somewhere. So for the longest time, it was like we said from like birth, we don't play boyfriend girlfriend, right? Like come home and like, oh, my son's got a girlfriend in third grade. No, he doesn't. No, we didn't. We don't do that. You don't need your identity tethered to another person for like, just figure out you. That's hard enough. So when she got around sophomore, there was a boy that she liked, he liked her, and they were texting. My wife was more in on the texting part. Then one day I picked up the phone and he asked her, like, how did you sleep last night? I was like, that's it. So I was like, so you're a friend, you know, whatever. And it was nothing wrong. There was nothing like that. But we decide if you're going to date, we're going to have a conversation before we ever start this. And so he came to the church with his dad, and it was me, my wife, and my daughter. So five of us at a table. And I just told him, listen, brother, I'm the gatekeeper of our home. It's so much easier to be the gatekeeper when you keep everybody out. But tonight we're going to talk about maybe inviting somebody in. Here's some things that we expect. And I told him, I will never disrespect you. Please don't disrespect me. The Vodi Bakken book, What He Must Be to Marry My Daughter, that was a prerequisite. We're going to walk through that. We've done it better at times than others. It's not a book report or anything, but it's just conversation. I told him, whether you're in my life for 5 years or 55 years, I have a responsibility to invest in you. I'm not trying to take away anything your dad did. I hope to complement it, but I want you to know, I'm not saying my daughter's infallible, but we have to guard your hearts. And for the most part, they've honored. I mean, everyone, you know, we slip up or we go, hey, where did you go? What happened? You know, but they've done it, and I want my second daughter to know this is the standard for whenever there's a boy around, and I want my son to know this is the standard. Now, what the crazy thing is, how quickly that got around the school and how many dads come up to me and asked, now, what did you do? And I thought,
Mm,
I didn't think it was anything that remarkable. Like, if anything, it was just, and I will be honest, to make myself feel better, because I really didn't want to have that conversation. I bought a rifle that day just to feel better, just to, you know, give myself something to look forward to when I came home. Now, the story was that I had a gun on the table. Like when I met with him, I said, brother, there's always guns. There was no need to put one on the table. I promise you that. But that gun wasn't for you. That was just for me because I just wanted to buy a new rifle.
that's something fun. What about for your son? Will you do, I mean, I don't know how old your son is, but will you do something similar for him, or how will you guys approach that? Being your son is going to be asking out a young lady.
Yeah, well, he's turning 12, so he's right. Not that asking around 12, but I'm saying he's at
Yeah.
the 12-year-old age where we're like, hey,
Hmm.
we got to hit the gas a bit more. You know what? If there is a girl, I would hope that that girl's dad would do the same to him. But I believe we'll probably initiate that as well. You know, so hey, Becky, you know, have her come over, bring her mom over, dad over. I don't care. I'm not trying to intimidate anybody. Um, I'm 5'8". I've never intimidated anyone. I'm not going for that. What I am doing is saying, this is the standard and we're not budging on it. You know, we care about your heart and we care about your reputation and we care about your future. Like, you may or may not marry this person someday. And that's one of the things I told my daughter's boyfriend. Someday you may be married to somebody else and you may say, that crazy old dude that, you know, I hope you see the value in it. And so I would do the same with my son and his girlfriend. We didn't make any threats. We didn't do anything, you know, like bravado or none of that stuff. Here's the thing. I had so many friends through the years say, when that first boy comes to the door, I'm going to tell him what you do to my daughter, I'm doing to you, and all that bull crap. They never did it. And when those guys came to the door, they folded. They sat in the chair, and, oh, yeah. And I'm like, I remember being so disappointed. Like, I wanted to see it. Come on, man. You're going to say,
Yeah.
not that any of that stuff would ever work on a teenage boy, but just the fact, like, that guy said that, and I thought, no, my daughters will know, like, I'm for you. If they break up tonight, I'm for you. You know, I invested in him, but I'm for you. So we're just trying. That's all you can
Yeah.
do.
I appreciate that advice to fatherhood. What about in marriage, man? What encouragement would you give to guys? What are you seeing in marriages between godly men and their wives? What would you say to a guy who's trying to strengthen his marriage, whether it's not going well or it's going well, but he just wants to continue to strengthen it?
I tell you something real strange that guys push back on. Sleep in the same bed. I'm serious. I don't care if you snore, if she's got the Jimmy leg. I don't care, whatever. Sleep in the same bed and get your kids out of your bed. Like, they don't need to be, that is your sacred space. And you got to protect that. And I know there's seasons and there's illness and I don't care. Guard that room. There's never a point in your day with your spouse that you are that much. I'm not talking about sex. I mean, if that happens, God bless you. But I'm talking about just physically being in that same space for that period of time. I know schedules are different. Figure it out. It's worth it. My wife gets up way earlier than I do. I stay up way later than she does. It will work. Sleep in the same bed. I think you got to pray together. It's awkward, but she's thankful for it. And you're going to say weird words and you're going to forget what you say and you're going to talk in circles. So what? Satan wants you to not pray with your bride. He wants you to see her as some kind of enemy. She corrected you. As men, we don't like to be corrected. My wife, I was saying something the other day about this guy, and man, it's frustrating. And she said, "That was you." I thought, I don't want to hear that, woman. That's not what I'm
Mm.
looking for. Like, you're supposed to take my side. She is. She's for me and she's with me. But we're difficult, brother. You and I are difficult people. So it stands to reason our wives are going to have to figure out, how to navigate with us. But here's one of the hardest lessons I had to learn. If God speaks to me in a way that I can understand, because I'm a hard headed individual, doesn't it stand to reason he speaks to my wife differently? It's consistent with his nature. It's not going to be some weird revelation out of whatever. It's going to be consistent. So when she speaks to me, I got to trust the Lord is speaking through her to me. We listen different, we communicate different. And if I'll humble myself enough to go, yeah, she's right. Oh, it's so much better. When your marriage is right, all other relationships are better.
Amen. Amen. Speaking of marriage, let's talk about the bride of Christ. You mentioned something earlier that used to be, I want to kind of go back to that if you're okay going back to that with Iowa and
Yeah.
then moving to Indianapolis. I'm interested because I'm in the ministry and I know there's guys who listen to the ministry or who listen to this who are in the ministry. So what encouragement would you give to guys who are in the ministry trying to encourage men in their church to step up in their godliness and in leading their homes and in loving their wives and discipling their children? Like
It's
as a
hard.
pastor, how do you go about doing that?
It's hard. So first of all, as a pastor, you're going to need a couple people in your corner, and they may not go to your church. The people that I confide in the most don't go to my church, and I don't have to worry about them. I used to confide everything in my wife. I come home at lunch, and I'd be like, "This guy said this, and this email this, and this," and I would dump it on her, and then I'd go back to work, and she's left carrying the burden of all that junk, and I felt much better. So I think pastorally, you got to have some people outside of that building that you can talk to, not to dog the bride, not to dog your elders, but to flush it out, to just let it out. And I got some guys they'll come back and be like, all right, that's enough. Let's, but in your church, man, it takes time because a lot of people in your church think you have it all together.
Mm.
Like I used to think when I first got to the church I'm at now, there'd be these people that would just get you in an earlock and you couldn't get away from them. And all these people were walking out the door, and I'm like, I need to talk to him. I need to talk to him. And only to find out those people didn't want to talk to me anyways. Like they were just trying to get out. So Alistair Begg says that like your best friend will probably not be in your church. And I think that's probably a good thing because you're just more open with your closest friends. I have friends in the church. I have guys in the church I can talk to, take to lunch, whatever, but they're like layer 2 or 3 as far as that closeness goes. It's just hard, man. Like our men's ministry, we don't have it figured out. As a matter of fact, I was telling someone the other night that I offered a small group at my house a year or two ago, and nobody signed up. You don't take that personal, do you? I'm like, I guess I'll take the paper down. Nobody wants to be in my group. You know what? I think the Lord has allowed me to do like tribe and some of that stuff and pastor. And so at the end of the day, whether it's your group or anyone else's group, just be the guy that's bragging on the ones that are, but
Mm.
it's so hard. Men are so hard. Women will sit in a circle and play Beth Moore and do it all the time. They will. And if you're willing to watch the women's kids, like provide childcare, you'll get 100 women to your church. Guys are like, I'm busy. Men turn into dad of the year every time there's an event that you try to get them to attend. They always do. Well, my son, like, oh, come on, man. We're not. But, you need them to build something,
Hmm.
they'll do it because it's
Yeah.
less threatening. It's less threatening.
Dude, it's interesting. I led a trip and we're leading another one to Barbados. It's a building trip and stuff like that. And I'm not handy with much of the things that I have going on. I have some of the tools and all of that, but I much prefer to allow my friends to take the lead on that sort of thing. And we were at this build site, and it's not like a small construction project. I mean, it's shoring up and making sure the floor, and they're going to pour concrete, rebar, all kinds of stuff. And I walk out there, I'm like, I don't really know what these guys are doing. Almost everybody is in this full time. Like this is their job that they're doing, and they just went and volunteered. And this guy came up to me, who goes to our church, and he goes, dude, you look like what most of us look like on a Sunday morning. Like you don't know what you're supposed to be doing. And I was like, dude, that's a revelation to me that how a lot of you guys feel is that you're
Mhm.
not entirely sure what your place is in this building. If they knew what their place was though when it came to the build site and what their skills were and how to use it, and I think you're absolutely right that guys like to get together to build things. I mean, it's no coincidence that we were meant to be builders to take dominion, and to make things beautiful and make things happen for the glory of God and the good of those He has entrusted to us. That's absolutely awesome. You mentioned those. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, and we all know how to do it in an arena somewhere,
Right.
somewhere like I remember teaching many years ago, and I'm just laboring on this point of, come on, let's go. Like I look at the people in the church thinking it's not that difficult. Like what are we doing? Like to me, it's black or white. And I probably said it that way too. And I had an elder come up, and I love this guy. I trust him with everything that I am. And he's like, "What do you want from me?" I thought, hey, someone had the courage to say it, and I said, "Make disciples." Okay, let's figure out what that looks like. Find one guy in here that you can connect, and that's it. If people in the church would just find another person, for crying out loud, and just get in the Word and be like, "What do you think John 10 means?" I don't know. Let's find a commentary and let's eat a hamburger. We'll take it. Your pastor will take it all day long.
Amen.
If people are meeting with one another and they're trying to disciple one another, you don't have to be a great theologian or have a doctorate or anything like that. Your pastor's job just got 50% easier. I promise.
That's true, man. That's true. You talked about guys who are outside of your immediate community at church and stuff. One of my best friends is actually in Indianapolis. He's in the Plainfield area. I don't know if you know where that
I
is.
know.
It's a,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah. So he's a guy I talk to a lot and sends funny videos a lot of the times and some serious conversations in there as well. So pretty cool stuff, man. What's next for the Pursuit of Manliness? You guys working on anything in particular, or just continuing to build on what you have going?
We just started 90 days of discipline. So it's again the framework idea, and there's
Mm-hmm.
things every day for 90 days. And we got a number of guys that are in it. We have a Facebook group for it. They're sharing pictures every day. The point of the pictures is not that I need to see you do a sit up. The point of the picture is that maybe you'll encourage someone else to do a sit up, or whatever.
Yeah.
And every guy posts different pictures, but it's a way we're also kind of checking in. So that's going on. We'll do probably one or two more of those at some point this year, but not back to back. You kind of need to miss it for a minute. So we're
Mm-hmm.
we're just into that. Tribe. This is session 15. We're starting 16 in June. I can't believe it. 8 years of this thing. If you'd have told me, that first 5 months, hey, you think you'll do this for 8 years? I'd say, get out. We're gonna have a better idea than this. But the Lord has just continually sent guys there. And then this will be our 5th year of the fall men's retreat, which is always a powerful weekend. Guys,
Tell me about the men's retreat.
yeah, man, it's so it was one of those things that you're gonna start it, you're gonna do it. Now let's not do it. We're gonna do it. We're not gonna do it. Find one summer. It's like we're doing it. I don't care. So I created a really basic logo on Canva, free Canva even, and I got a text that I put together. Hey brother, we're having a fall men's retreat October 1st and 2nd, da, 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 da. And I drove home for lunch that day and copy and pasted in my phone as I drove. I know you shouldn't do that, just to everybody in my phone. And by the end of the day, I think I had 10 guys who said, I'm in. And I thought, well, we got 10, we'll see what happens. So it's here in Indianapolis. It's hosted at the church where I serve. Some guys camp out on the property. Some guys bring their RVs. I mean, we got however you can camp, we have guys doing it there. We have guys in hotels, Airbnbs, wherever. It's crazy. So about half the group is from tribe. So let's say we have 200, 75 to 100 are men that are in tribe or have been connected to tribe. There's probably another 30 or 40 from my church. So I'm bad at math, but that puts us at like 100 to 110. That shows you 80 to 90 of these guys. I have no idea where they come from. Like they're just guys that listen to
Hmm.
podcasts, someone that lives in the area. We got guys who live in Indy who come to the retreat. They don't go to the church where I serve. I don't know where they go, but you don't have to be in, if you will, to be at this thing. And so it's 2 days. We eat, we worship, we teach. There's nothing fancy. We don't pay for anybody to come in. We have no special guest speakers. I'm it. Tribe, and they got our worship pastor with some guys in tribe and stuff lead worship. They do a phenomenal job, but it is kind of what you see is what you get. There's no strings attached or anything. We got gear available. We'll talk about tribe builder stuff. It's not it's no entrapment there. But yeah, this is year 5. Last year we did it during a hurricane, which was pretty wild. We had tents blowing all over the neighborhood and stuff. But it's just remarkable what God does in that group and in something like that. So the thing that will probably be next is figuring out how to do another one maybe in the spring, summer, that's smaller, much smaller. So, I don't want to call it an event, but a gathering where you can then take 30 guys, let's say, for a night or two. Um, I think the retreat needs to be its own thing. So to me, that's what would probably be next, but who knows?
That's awesome, dude. That sounds like a cool time, man. That's pretty cool that you guys get to do that, and guys who connect with the podcast get to go and they get to see you in person and learn from you and grow with you and other guys in the tribe. Because I'm guessing guys in the tribe are from across the country and maybe even more.
even beyond outside the US a little bit. So guys in tribe will bring their sons. And here's something unique too that we're seeing is guys in tribe bringing their sons. These sons are starting to develop friendships at the retreat and outside of the retreat. So that's like kind of next level. And we're seeing some of the wives start to become friends outside of there. Like we have marriage calls in tribe too for married guys if they want to do it. But these guys are meeting up for, a hike or a dinner or whatever outside of there. But here's the cool part. There are guys at the retreat that have no idea who I am. That's the win, right? So I go up
Really?
and they're like, "Hey, he's just," until I guess I get up to talk. They don't have a clue. Like somebody in their group invited me. They don't do this. They don't do YouTube, whatever. And I'm like, I don't care. Like
Yeah.
which to me is fantastic. It isn't, like come listen to Jarrett speak. It's like come, and I hate the term retreat, but we threw it together so quick 4 years ago. It's the word we're stuck with. But it is literally just this gathering of camaraderie. We eat well, we laugh a
Hmm.
lot. We again, it's kind of cool to see guys camp. Man, where'd you get that tent at? I need one of those. Or the guy that sleeps on the ground or whatever. Man, it's just really basic and it's just a good time.
Yeah. So
Anyone can do one. You could do one wherever you're at. You could do one.
yeah, that's cool that your church allows you to do that too, man. That they
Yeah,
allow you to do the Pursuit of Manliness retreat and all that stuff. It's fun. Yeah, our church does a spring men's conference, and it's pretty
there you
fun
go.
to have guys go. And they're
Yeah,
talking about this idea that you mentioned because I think a lot of people come in from far away to bring in RVs and stuff like that for the parking lot. A lot of the guys who just go to the church are the ones who attend the conference. But it's pretty fun watching guys come in from Kansas and since we're in Southwest Missouri and places like that. It's pretty cool to see. So that's awesome, man. Well, dude, I appreciate you taking some time to share with the Lion and the Bear. And I want to ask you this final question. You host the Pursuit of Manliness podcast. I would encourage anybody who listens to the Lion and the Bear to listen to the Pursuit of Manliness. If they're to start listening to the Pursuit of Manliness, is there an episode? I mean, they could always just like, hey, I'll just do the next episode that they release, right? Is there an episode or something that you would recommend that you guys have done lately that's like this is a great conversation or a great quiet life conversation or episode that we did
yeah, yeah.
that you would point people to?
Normally, I'd have no idea what you're talking about as far as episode numbers, but I just recorded one this morning where I had to reference one, and so I like one of them that I did recently that I got some people to respond back to was it's from December 11th. I don't remember the episode number. I just know it's called like full-time mentality. And the point behind that it's a midweek conversation, so it's a quiet life one. The point of that episode is we need full-time men of God. No more part-timers, no more wimpyology, no more guys who think they got saved to sitting in the back row. Like we're full. We can't take another one of those guys. But we need some guys who are saying, I'm all in. Like, let's go. Let's you and I, whether it's your podcast, my podcast, the guy at the grocery store, whatever, let's just exasperate ourselves for the gospel until we expire. There are people that need the Lord. Today's the day of salvation for somebody. And so I say that with, I don't know when you'll post this, but that one I recorded today where I had to reference that, someone asked the question, like, okay, then what does it look like to live full time? Well, that'll be next Wednesday. So if you look for one that has those phrases, that's what I'd recommend. If you go
Okay.
back to the early days, I will say this, and you can attest to this as well. Those early day podcasts, one, my microphone was worse than it is now, but I always talk about podcasts and stuff like the clothes I wore in high school. It was a good idea at the time, but I would never do it again. Some of those conversations I had, I believe in what is said. I believe in the content. Even the guys I interviewed, some of those guys don't do that stuff no more. They're on to other things.
Hmm.
It's the best you do in the time, right? And so as
Right.
you grow, this thing grows. So that's why I'd say, man, look for maybe some stuff in December might be a good start.
Yeah, dude, I'm like 2.5 months in, so I'm in the stuff I'm wearing in high school right
Love
now,
it.
man.
Love it. Stay with it, man. We need you. We need
Well, I
you.
appreciate you saying that. I appreciate you saying that, dude. It has been a good conversation. Really grateful for the pursuit of manliness, and I know the guys in my life that has impacted, and I've been a listener for a long time. So, thanks so much for the work you're doing, and may God continue to bless it and strengthen men.
Amen. Same. Stay with it, man. We need you guys.
Sweet. Well, thanks, Jarrett.